everybody, and thanks for joining us for the PHNX Suns postgame show brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and leave us a 5-star review.
Ride, baby.
I'm Lindsay Smith here with Saul Bookman and Espo. Gerald Bourguet will hopefully be joining us here
turn
shortly.
This up, Emma, for us.
Crank it!
Because we got to get the vibe, too. No, it's
you
fine.
guys, we should be celebrating with some Four Peaks beers and some sexy sacks because the Phoenix Suns beat the Charlotte Hornets 128-97.
That is a
four-game win streak. Crack them open if you got them, especially if they are Four Peaks beer. You ready for some ASMR?
Come on, fingers. Win. Curve everything else. Win. Hey.
Cheers, everybody.
We won.
Congratulations to us. Sounds like the Suns are back. We're celebrating with some Four Peaks beer. If you guys are not celebrating with some, highly recommend you get some. Also, don't forget, our last Wednesdays are back, and we are going to be out at the 8th Street Pub in Tempe all day tomorrow, the entire PHNX crew. All of our shows are live and in person, so come hang out with us anytime tomorrow and enjoy some $3 beer specials, some bomb chicken tenders.
Come see me and we can debate about whether or not Chris Paul is washed or not.
We'll have that conversation for another day. But just a reminder, you do have to be 21 years or older, and we ask that you enjoy responsibly. You guys.
We're over 500.
Fantastic. What a time to be alive. I am so stoked right now. The Suns are back. We're back. The Sexy Sax is back. I think we should just go ahead and name our DraftKings King of the Game off the top because he's back too. Yes, we are talking about Cam Johnson. He had himself another night, finishing with 24 points. He was 6 of 7 from deep. He also added in 3 rebounds and 3 assists. And might I add, in just 18 minutes this evening,
he outscored the Hornets in the first quarter.
He did. Cam Johnson in the first quarter had 16 points. Charlotte had 15 points.
Damn Skippy.
Not to mention, he was 6 of 6 from the field and 4 of 4 from deep.
You know who the only person that could stop him is? Monty Williams. Took him out, and then he went cold.
Did we ever find that graphic?
Mr. Freeze. We'll have to get that
Senior
recreated.
Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. That's what Monty does best. He sees that you're on a heater, and he walks up behind you, and he goes, frozen.
But it's okay because Cam did come back. He did knock down a few more shots, a couple three. Or no, actually, he didn't get any more threes. No, he did. Sorry, I was 6 of 6 from the field. I'm sorry.
No.
Mixing up my 6.
Maybe. I don't know.
Somewhere. Yeah. All right. Cool. No.
We're all on the same page now. You guys get it, right? He did come back in. He did knock down a few more shots, including a couple more threes. So that's all good. The one thing, though, I will say, when it comes to Cam Johnson, is I'm a little bit nervous.
He's like watching your kids learn how to drive.
Oh, I don't know what that feels like, but I can imagine it'd be stressful.
It's nerve-wracking because at any moment you feel like something bad's about to happen.
Yeah.
But even if they seem like they have control, and that watching Cam Johnson play basketball now because of his injury history, it's like, yay! Like the dunk. I was like, oh my God.
That awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Look, he's the new TJ Warren.
No.
Don't you do that to him.
Dude gets all sorts of weird freak injuries.
Don't you do that to him.
I refuse.
No, TJ Warren.
His face is swollen on one half
We're
right
not
now.
going to disrespect Cam Johnson by giving him the TJ Warren label.
I'm not saying his game is TJ Warren. His luck is TJ Warren.
Again, I don't know that I'd even go that far because I don't know that I would say TJ's situation was all luck.
Well, some of
Thank you.
I'm just going to throw that one
a
out.
Self-inflicted
Word.
tattoo.
I'm just going to throw that one out
reportedly.
there. Read into it however you want.
Yeah,
But,
like maybe I just didn't feel like fucking playing today.
Nah, it was never that. But
No, yeah, it was.
There was.
we're not going to go down that rabbit hole.
I can't tell you
That's
what it
a
was.
story for another day. Maybe a story at like a Four Peak setting or an outing or something.
I'd
of
have
that
to be
sort.
four peaks in and some OGs before getting that one out of me.
Yeah.
What? For real?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
You don't have to
after
say
the
it on the
show.
show,
I'll
but
tell
in
you after
private,
the
let's
show.
go. I've heard this story.
So maybe come to Four Peaks tomorrow. Maybe Espo will
I
tell you
told
the
you the
story.
tattoos.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you were high at Vegas and told me.
So back to Cam Johnson.
Yes.
Cam Johnson is not TJ Warren. Cam Johnson is a sweet baby angel who can do no wrong. And he's also been playing lights out since coming back from his injury. But I am a little bit concerned about the face because even we saw it at halftime when he was leaving to the locker room, it was already starting to swell. And obviously, if you guys missed it, he caught an elbow, a really hard elbow to the face
He looked like
this game. He looked like he got his wisdom teeth pulled.
He looked like my favorite childhood cartoon.
The Chipmunks?
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah. And then post game, he was on with Tom and Tom. And not only was his cheek swollen, but his lips were swollen too, but on the opposite side of the cheek. So I don't know if he caught an additional elbow at some point tonight. But all I'm saying is if we hear any news tomorrow about Cam Johnson being injured or concussion
It's a
protocol
scheduled
or
rest day.
whatever,
It's okay.
the
It's okay.
Charlotte Hornets are on the list. All of them, the whole organization.
But he's not injury prone.
That's not fair, though.
Don't claim he's that.
Jared
How
was going
dare
to
you?
rue the day he ever said that.
Yes. But that's not fair, though, because
He did-
you can't control somebody hitting you in the face with their elbow.
No, he did look like Hitch, though. So,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, he did. Look, I know you can't, but the whole thing is it's bad luck. This guy has such bad luck when it comes to injuries. He has his best game of his career, catches a stray knee from Julius Randle, is out for like six, 7 games last year, maybe even more than that. You know, he has one of his best games tonight. He catches a stray elbow in the face and is swollen. Like, it sucks for this dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's a major bummer, but hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, we dodged a bullet there as far as Cam Johnson injuries go.
What's going on right now?
What's happening?
The chat absolutely wants Espo and I to hug. And I said, no.
hug.
Somebody already said it. They said only 6 more wins till we see Saul and Espo hug. Because I said if they win 10 in a row, then we'll hug.
Okay, but Joe said you have to hug for at least 7 seconds. How about that?
Fuck,
It
that's
can't be a
awkward as shit.
weak-ass hug.
7 seconds
First
or
of
less.
first of all, there's only one person in my life that I'm ever hugging for 7 seconds, and that's my wife. Everybody
Poor
else, hell no.
children.
Not my kids. No. That's just no.
You're so weird.
My son doesn't want to hug me for 7 seconds. I promise you that.
You're so weird. Yeah,
Because-
great
because-
question, Emma. How do you know,
Because
Saul?
every time I give him a hug, he's the first one to pull away. That's how I know.
Because he feels
For-
you're uncomfortable.
For $20, I'll give anybody a
Yes.
7-second hug. I don't care.
No, that's bullshit. I'm not hugging nobody for 7 seconds.
Anyway.
Well, by the way, if you guys want to hear Gerald's win, you gotta hit that like button.
There, she already
yeah, we
played
already
it.
played it. Did you miss it?
Why did you play that?
Because we queued it up at the beginning of the show. Sorry, folks. Apparently, our script is way off, and we did not stick with
Hit
it.
that like button if you didn't hear it like me, and you'll hear it again.
I mean, you really should hit the
I
like
did-
button. It's the easiest way to help us out. I mean, come on.
I did
Joe.
have a beer explode on me at the beginning of the show, so there is that.
Oh, but yes, Cam Johnson, despite getting whopped in the face seemingly a couple times tonight, he played really well. And for that, again, he is our DraftKings king of the game. And if you guys want to get in on the action on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, right now there are 4 NFL teams, 2 conference championship games, and only a few more shots to win big on the playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 57, new customers can bet just $5 to get $200 in free bets instantly. So make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use that code PHNX. Because like I said, new customers can bet $5 on the conference championships and get $200 in free bucks instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Our bets tonight on the DraftKings Sportsbook app.
Not good.
Not great, Bob.
Not great.
Not great at all.
Fucking chat is funny today.
We all lost. All 3 of us lost our bets on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. To be fair, the only reason I lost was because for once in his entire life, Monty Williams decided to rest Mikal Bridges too early.
Well, to be fair, that's why I lost too.
I mean,
That's why I lost.
I'm just saying.
I
I guess we all have excuses.
Yeah, I mean, it's all on Monty.
I needed
Monty's
Mikal.
quiet in
I needed to
mind.
be.
You needed a
I need
double-double.
Mikal as well, but you know.
yeah, but do you think Mikal would have had a double-double in like 8
million
minutes?
percent. Oh, 1,000,000%. Oh yeah,
Bro.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
mean, he would have gotten those 5 assists to 2
Bro.
steals
Oh, yeah.
I needed.
absolutely.
I mean, it's
absolutely.
no doubt.
Y'all are out of your damn minds.
Why don't we give each of us a win on this, right? We can do that.
Yeah, that's
we'll
perfect.
take the money.
Yeah.
You can take your win, and we'll all call it good.
What, minus 110 isn't the same as plus 3,000 or plus 3,500?
I don't know. Can you do math?
Yeah, we would have won
Is it
over
the
$300.
Is it the same? You
Well,
tell me
hey,
so.
sorry. Statistically, yes, it is the same.
Oh, yeah?
Lindsay, we're willing to give you this win if you want.
Oh,
As
really?
long as we get our win.
Win.
Basically, what I'm saying is we all lost $10 on the leaderboard. So now we are officially not sitting as pretty as we once were. Saul is at a plus 950. I'm at a plus 7562. And Espo is at a plus 27. So how is this back to reality?
For me, I'm going back to the fucking. I'm going back to the bad world. I don't want to go back to the red space.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's dive a little bit more into this game between the Suns and the Hornets. What's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
A big freaking win! 128-97 for your Suns, and it was the rebounding, three-point shooting, and assists that tell this story. Suns had 55 rebounds to the Hornets 39. Suns were 22 of 40 from three. The Hornets were a measly 6 of 25. And the Suns had 37 assists as a team to 19 assists for the Hornets. And right there, that's what equates to an ass whooping.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all over the court tonight, the Suns just seemed like they were crisp. They were playing with energy, especially in that first quarter. And then, listen, if the Suns hit threes at the clip that they were hitting them tonight, especially with Cam Johnson playing like this, they are one of the toughest teams to beat in the NBA because you can't focus on just one individual. And Cam really set the tone early. He was fantastic in that first quarter. And, listen, I mean, this is when the Suns team is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this is we had been missing this for a hot minute there. Things got very doom and gloom over in these parts as far as being a Suns fan, but this has been so refreshing to have this team bounce back in this way by simply just getting a few guys back from the injury report. I'm so excited to see what it looks like when we actually get Devin Booker and a few additional guys off of that injury report list, because if this is what we're getting with just at first just Cam back and then adding Chris Paul to the mix of that, we could be in theory looking pretty good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Because like you said with the standings, right? We're above 500 again now, aren't we?
We are in 5th right now. The Suns are. They'll be in 6th at the end of the night because the Clippers lead the Lakers by 20. But right now they're ahead of the Clippers. They've jumped the Mavericks. So the Suns are now 6th. Clippers will be 5th, a half a game ahead of them. So guess what? You're out of the play-in right now. Everything has kind of fallen the way the Suns needed it to keep them right in the thick of things. If Devin comes back, a top 3 seed is within the realm of possibility, and that number 2 is probably the outskirts. You'd have to go have a pretty significant win streak and see the Pels fall back, the Nuggets, kind of fall back to the pack if you want to be in that 1 or 2 in the West.
The great thing about this, and listen, as bad as everything looked about a week or 2 ago, the one thing I always said is, yeah, it looks bad, but the West isn't exactly running away with anything. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a shit show all over the place, and teams are going through funks left and right. I kept pointing it out time after time again, like, it doesn't look good. But we just have to hold our water until Booker gets back. Well, we didn't even have to wait for that because, Cam Johnson, I think we all underestimated how much Cam Johnson's impact would be. Mm-hmm. And it's really given this team the spark and really the juice it's needed. And everybody seems like they're playing much better at a higher level. And as they pointed out on the telecast, this is going to pay dividends down the road because all the guys that normally wouldn't get a lick of playing time all season long have been getting 10, 15, 20, sometimes 25 minutes in during this stretch. And that's going to pay off down the road.
Well, and you have point guard play now with Chris Paul back, which you were, at one point you were playing Dwayne Washington Jr. major minutes at point guard. This team is still a juggernaut at home. They're 18-7 at home. So look, this is best case scenario I think we could have wound up with how bad things turned in the latter half of December and beginning part of January here. But now you're right back in it. Cam Johnson, as you said, I think we probably undervalued what he brought in many ways to this team, not just his scoring, but I really think he's a catalyst for this group in terms of chemistry as well out there on the court. Look, I still think there's a couple moves to be made here to really be in the thick of trying to win it, but Suns are back in the discussion, legit.
I didn't think this before because I was like, well, I don't know what we're really playing with, but because of the run the Suns have been on, where we're trending towards to, and we're really just beelining it right now towards the trade deadline, and with Matt Ishbia and the new ownership group, to be honest with you, I think JJ's seat is warm, and he better do something to help this squad out because you can see that they have championship capability. But if you don't add to it and you just let it ride because you're feeling pretty good about this, 4-game win streak or whatever this win streak ends up being, that ain't it. We need help, and you better get it, James Jones. So, I'm excited. Also, Gilbert in the chat had a great saying. He said that the West is mid, so you can call it the Midwest. Hey.
Look, for me, if I hear the phrase, the best acquisition we could make at the trade deadline was getting Devin Booker back, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. Because it feels like such a James Jones thing to do is be like, well, we did make an acquisition at the deadline. His name is Devin Booker, and he's back. Oh, I will break something.
I will throw up in my mouth.
Because we can make it into the playoffs and a few rounds in, but in order to win a championship, I feel like we need something else. We need another piece. Not saying that it can't be done with this squad. It's just a lot harder to be done. And so why not take advantage of the opportunity you're given while you still have a team that is this solid and add to it instead of running it back again. Like we did that last year. That was cool for last year. This year, I want to add to what we have.
The teams that stand pat and just, ride it again with the same group, they never succeed the next year. Because what you're talking about with this particular team is you would think that this was like a young team, but they're not. They have a lot of veterans on this squad. So running it back isn't going to give you some dramatic increase the next year. The guys that you were hoping to get an increase from were DA, Mikal, and Cam. Well, Mikal and Cam seem like Cam looks like he's really like he hasn't missed a beat.
Could you imagine if Cam didn't get hit or?
Oh, I know. Yeah. But yeah. And then Mikal, he seems like he's putting his stuff together, and he didn't have 20 plus tonight, but he was still very, very good. And then DA, and DA is the biggest. He's the biggest conundrum right now in Suns land. You don't know what you have really, but I don't think anybody really wants to trade him for peanuts. But at the same time, people do doubt whether or not he has what it takes to really contribute at a high level to get this team to a championship. What I will say is this, and I'm not trying to excuse DA, and I've gone through the numbers, but what I will say is there's a remarkable difference between DeAndre Ayton in the regular season and DeAndre Ayton in the playoffs, and we have to keep remembering that because he has showed up the last 2 years in the playoffs. He has. The numbers tell us that. But we're talking about the regular season and some of the ups and downs with him, and that's kind of the scary part.
You have the benefit right now of people still being intrigued by the potential of DeAndre Ayton. At some time, a year, 2 years down the road, that's going to be gone. I think you may be able to capitalize and get the most you'll ever be able to get for DeAndre Ayton right now. So I'm not sure that it's the right move, but I think if the plan is to move him eventually, now's probably the best.
So I would disagree with that. And the reason why I would disagree with that is because I think if you get through the playoffs and he resumes,
he does DA
playoff stuff, then at that point, not only is there's no trade clause out the window and you could trade him for whatever, his value's very high,
Mhm.
and then that's when I think his potential value is as high as it can be.
And then when James Jones won't want to deal him. Look, I don't know that you're
You
going to
gotta
get.
make up your mind one
No,
way or the other if you're
I
JJ.
mean, we're playing.
Look, I think we're playing a big what if on assuming he's going to be something great in the playoffs too, right? This team needs something. If they go into the playoffs with the same group that you're sitting here, or they just trade Jay Crowder for just say, some scrub off the Bucks, Grayson Allen, you're not going to win it all.
But there's not really a trade out there that if you're trading DA, there's not really a trade out there to be made that really moves the needle.
I'm not saying it necessarily has to be DA, but you got to make some kind of move that has some impact here. And there may be a deal out there. We don't know. I mean, Siakam could become available and they could go in and intrigue Toronto enough. I don't know, but I still feel like this is a very, very good team. They need something to get over the hump.
Mhm. And we'll find out soon enough because that trade deadline is just around the corner. It's going to be here
2
before we
weeks.
even know it. Also, speaking of all of the trades, we did in our pregame show today. Our pregame show basically turned into a Trade Machine Tuesday
Yeah.
special.
Yes,
So
it
if
did.
you want to go back and watch that, it's on our podcast feed as well. So wherever you listen to your podcast, you can hear it there. But basically, we went into all the rumors and all the notes that came out over the last 24 hours about the Suns and who they're supposedly interested in and who they're not. We even came up with a mock trade, and we all had a ton of feelings about those type of things. So if you guys want the latest on that, there is a special for you. You can find it on YouTube right before this show, or like I said, on your podcast platform.
Also on February 6th, we're doing a little trade deadline roundtable, just with a variety of different personalities around Phoenix. We'll be coming into the studio or calling in virtually, and we're going to get some feedback and some thoughts on the Suns and the state of the Suns and where they think moves will be coming in the next day or two before the trade deadline. So
Our new
look forward to that.
Voices segment that
Yep.
we're going to be doing
Yeah.
on a
so
regular basis.
we got a whole bunch of fun stuff planned.
Yeah, we
Can
do.
we talk about a guy that may have upped his trade value tonight?
Yes. Which one?
The homie.
The homie.
Uh-huh.
The homie.
I thought you were going to say somebody else.
Who did you think I was?
I was like,
DA by not
I
playing.
was like, Jock Landale is not getting traded.
I'm not. You take that thought out of your brain and throw it far away. Jock is not going
How
anywhere.
dare you put those
I
words
said
into
he's
the...
not getting
Yeah,
traded.
just even the thought of mentioning him in the idea of a trade is not acceptable. Look, Dario tonight had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Shot 6 of 9 from the field, and did it in 24 minutes. He's rounded back into form. Like he very much is a guy that now isn't just salary filler. You could actually make quite a not a big move, but you can make a move that you're actually giving some value back in a Dario in that way. So that intrigues me. I'm glad to see it for him too, that he's back and playing at a level that that's actually quite impressive.
You know, one of the things that I feel like Dario brings to the table is his ability to pass really well. I mean, you don't necessarily see it like with the stats tonight as far as like his assists go because he only had 3. But some of those passes that we see from Dario on a night-to-night basis, especially as of late, are just so beautiful. And it's just really fun to watch him come back into his own after missing so much time. I mean, I saw people on Suns Twitter tonight reminiscing back on the finals and asking themselves, if we had this Dario for the entire final series, would we have won one?
Oh, yeah. I've thought about that quite a bit. Like, I think people always forget because he bounced within the first minute he was on the court.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely would have been a difference maker. And it's just, man, I don't even want to think about that. Why do we got to bring up old shit?
Well,
Well, that's
Lindsay?
what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying is that Dario's play over the last handful of games has made people reminisce into that type of thinking around Dario. Like whether it's upping the trade value or being able to contribute in positive ways for this team, regardless of what it ends up becoming, it's a positive. And you love to see it for a guy like Dario, who 1, is a solid human being, 2, had to go through so much BS to get back on the court in the first place. Like this is so easy to root for.
Let me just say this. I must have missed where Dario was really great at defending Giannis before he got hurt. because that wasn't going to switch the finals. But let me, I've been well documented in my skepticism of Dario Saric on this program, right? I'm actually at a point where I wonder, maybe you don't trade him. Maybe he is a guy that can have an impact on this roster and somebody you might want to re-sign going into next year and not just use him as that expiring salary, because he's been that impressive. That passing can become important. You can go small ball with him at center at times if you want to. It's an intriguing option to have on this roster.
He didn't necessarily have to guard Giannis, for Christ's sake. He could have. Him being out there as the backup center would have helped a lot, because we were running out Frank Kaminsky and a bunch of nobodies to try and help supplement DA, and it wasn't working at all. DA was the only one out there that could guard Giannis even a little bit. And I'm not saying Saric would have done that, but damn, Saric is a great facilitator. And he can hit the perimeter shot. There was a lot of different things. Anyway, Dario.
I hate the what ifs with 93 and this, right? Because it wasn't a seventh game where anything could happen. You lost in 6, and you had an otherworldly player in MJ and in Giannis. I don't think God himself could have played on the Suns for those games 6 and 7, and I don't think the Suns would have won when you're going up against guys like that. That's my only point, because you hear people say, oh, well, if only the Suns had Cedric Ceballos in 93, or, oh, if they only had Dario. I'm sorry. That wasn't changing the fates on either of those teams.
I disagree, but okay.
I think it's funny that you're mad about a what if right now. Didn't you love what ifs over the summer?
I do love
Isn't
what
that like
ifs.
your thing, Espo?
I'm just saying, give me an actual good what if. I'm not those two guys.
That's a good what if.
No, those two guys are not
between a
changing
ring
it.
and not having a ring.
You just got Chelsea.
Not changing it.
Espo, of all the people who would
Dario
want to what
Saric
if
was
that.
not the difference between a championship.
Dario Saric was a body who could have helped with rebounding. Another guy that had to be guarded.
Bobby
if he could
fucking
shoot the
Portis
three
was a
back
difference
then.
maker. What, Dario couldn't be?
Yeah, everything counts in those type of situations.
No.
Whatever, Espo. You be a hater over
They
there.
get one more win and they lose in Game 7 in each
At
of those
home?
series. Yeah.
Espo, you were high and out of your mind.
Game 7s, the best player wins. The Suns did not have the best player in 2021 or 1993. And it doesn't matter if you're playing on Mars, if you're playing under the ocean, or you're playing at home, the best player is going to win in a series. The Suns didn't have the best player.
Whatever, Espo. You big old lame. Anyway, back to tonight's game. A few more players to give some flowers out to. Since we're talking about big men out there, let's also continue down and give a little bit of love to Jock Landale. Tonight he had a career-high 3 threes for the first time in his career in
Let's
a game.
go, Jock,
he had
baby.
13 points and 3 rebounds in 10 minutes. He finished 3 of 7 from deep. But I loved seeing Jock shoot the 3 tonight. Obviously, a couple of them were better looks than others. But if we can get a couple more 3s each game, even if it's just 1 or 2 from Jock on a more consistent basis, we're going to be in a good place.
Oh, man. Jock's ability to be able to stretch out the defense if he starts hitting that 3 is unbelievable. It opens up everything for your offense. You know, Chris Paul will have driving lanes again, even though he's, got a little arthritis everywhere. And then, other guys are going to get wide open shots, driving lanes. That's how this team thrives. I think that's one of the issues that people have with DA is that he's not a stretch big, right? He can hit the mid-range, but he can't stretch out to 3 consistently, which honestly, side note, watching him in college, I'm shocked right now because I was watching highlights earlier. His pick and pop 3s in college, I'm like, where the fuck is that guy? It's startling, and I'll get to that more later. But Jock opens it up, and Jock opens it up for everybody. And I'm glad that he hasn't deterred himself from shooting the 3 because it wasn't going really good at the beginning. I think he was like 1 for 29 at one point. But now he's starting to get into a groove. Hey, It's awesome. Friend of the program. That's what you come to PHNX, you're gonna start thriving. I'm just saying.
Hey, the dickhead from down under had it going tonight.
The double D.
Landale's Landing is the prices are going up. Get in now if you want to get good, is what I'm saying. Jock hitting those threes. Would I like to see him foul? Less? Yes, I would. But his offense was great. He had the hustle plays, and I think he probably would have had close to 20 points if he hadn't gotten in foul trouble, because he really had it going offensively. And quite frankly, the Hornets didn't have a real answer for him either out there tonight. So I'm glad to see him rolling. I take full credit whenever he gives me shit. They seem to do well, as the Gerthlings were pointing out. So Jock, come in and call me whatever you want, whenever you want, and we'll have some fun banter if you'd like.
Also, I feel like from the foul perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, but is this Jock's second year in the league?
Yes.
It'll come with time. He'll learn a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more. He'll get more experience and reps. And again, going back to what they all were talking about when we were in the thick of it, having to figure out how to be on and perform when you don't know the type of minutes you're going to see night in and night out, what expectations are going to be put on your plate night in and night out. Like, Jock will get there. I have all the faith in the world that Jock will be able to figure it out. He has done really well, in my opinion, in the role they've asked him to do, and being able to kind of adjust in that way, considering it is his second year in the league, right? Like, I think that's something that's easy to forget when it comes to Jock, because we've been with most of these guys on the squad for a hot minute now. So everyone knows what's expected in all these different situations and scenarios.
Well, look, and early on, you want to come into a new team and impress. And everything that was said in preseason was so glowing about Jock, and talking about his shooting ability, his impact, all these things. I think he probably felt a lot of pressure to come out and show out, right? So a lot of times when you're in your own head, you can shoot poorly. 1 of 29, not really what you hope for, but I think now he's comfortable. He understands, his place here. He understands his teammates, and he's hitting these shots now because it's easier. It feels better out there, and hopefully we just continue to see it grow. First time, like you said, in his career, he's hit 3 in a game. Hopefully it's the start of some kind of streak for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to see Jock knock down threes a lot more often in these games when he's out there, because it just adds a whole nother element to his game that, like you said, we don't get from all of the bigs on this Suns squad.
One of the things that I do like that he's doing more is at the beginning of the season when he was shooting, he was almost like praying it would go in. Like he would release, but he would never finish his shot. So his wrist would literally be like this in the air, right? But now you can see him finish the shot a little bit more, and it's so silly how that small little difference can make all the difference in the world. It tends to put more rotation on the ball, so the ball will drop a little bit quicker instead of just sailing on you. And I think maybe that's the reason why he's starting to shoot a little bit better. I hope so.
He doesn't seem to be rushing it either.
No.
Like, I think early on it was very get it up as fast as possible. Now he's just hitting them in rhythm.
He also has like 15 minutes to prep to shoot because there's nobody around him.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yet, Saul. Yet. Nobody around him yet. People will have to put some respect on his 3-point shots here coming soon. Fingers crossed. And then, of course, we got to talk about Chris Paul, the point guard. His second game back from injury. Second or third? Second game back from injury. He had a solid outing in the game the other night. And again, here tonight, finished with a double-double, 11 assists, 14 points. Is Chris Paul back?
I'll say this. He's refreshed, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some time to recover, which is good. He's healed up. The point guard is always going to be efficient when it comes to distribution and running the offense. That's not what we're ever worried about. What we always are going to look at right now is, can he score? Can he score when this team needs him to score, especially when Devin Booker comes back? And more importantly, if we get to the playoffs, can he actually contribute on the offensive end by dropping buckets? We've seen it time and time again before, but this is a new year, and you can't ignore the fact that he is a different player right now, and he's trying to figure himself way through it. And what you're hoping for is that he can figure it out in a way to where he can still perform at a high level just maybe some little nuance here and there that changes within his game, and that's fine. So he's not washed. He's not washed, regardless of what I might have said in the preseason. I apologize. He's not washed, but what you're looking for is his contributions down the stretch in games, which has not been as efficient as it used to be, and how he can perform in the playoffs. And we know the story of the playoffs, whether it's injury or some random ass fluky thing. He's got to get through a playoff, and for God's sake, just get through it healthy. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have this right? He didn't score till the third quarter. Is that correct? He didn't score in the first. I know that. He scored a majority of his points, at least, in that third quarter. And I still think that's what we can expect from Chris. I don't think you're ever going to see the guy that scores 41 and takes over an entire game offensively, like we saw in, I believe it was that Pelican series.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's gone, but I still think he's the guy at where, as long as he's healthy, he can come in and he can dominate a quarter. You can go, my guys need this, right? Because the Suns in the second quarter let the Hornets back in this game. They got it under 10 at one point there in that second quarter, and it felt like in that third quarter, Chris went, my guys need me to help them get back in rhythm here. I'll do it. He takes over offensively in the third. They don't need to play him or any of the major guys in the fourth. I think that's the Chris Paul you can see offensively, where you can get streaks of it. Like, and that's probably good enough if guys like Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges continue to step off offensively. It's good enough. And like Saul said, you're always going to get the distribution from CP3. It's just, how often can we see these runs from CP3 offensively? And can it get back to the point where, in the final 2 minutes of a game, if it's coming down to it, Chris Paul can be clutch at that time? Because you need that. They missed that a lot this year.
So Chris Paul had 2 points in the first quarter, but the other 12 came in the third quarter. I remember because we were yelling at him to pass the ball to Cam Johnson, remember?
This is true.
I think as long as you can keep Chris Paul's legs fresh by deferring to Mikal Bridges, like we talked about the other night, that Chris Paul mentioned he'd been waiting for those guys to take some initiative there. As long as that actually happens, I think we can rely on Chris Paul more in the moments when we actually need him, because he can rest longer. He can take his time with things and not feel as compelled to carry so much of the load.
It's complex with Chris Paul, because again, like, listen, good teams, what I'm worried about is in a 7-game series, which we have seen a little bit before, is teams will adjust and they will make Chris Paul beat them shooting the ball. And he has shown that he can do it in spurts. He's shown that the last 2 nights. He did it very well in the first half last game. He did it very well in the third quarter of this game. But that's not going to be enough to beat the elite teams in this league. It's good when for the Hornets, and it was good enough to beat the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies. It was cold, so it's Grizzlies. But when you're playing a 7-game series and you're needed to score, can he do it at a high enough level? It's not good enough to drop 10 points and have 12 assists in the playoffs if your team's getting housed by 25. Like, you got to be able to drop 20, and what we've been talking about is everybody else has lifted their game up enough to counteract what he's lost offensively. And I think that's what you're starting to see with Cam Johnson, Mikal, and hopefully DA at some point.
I think what is going to be a big factor, though, in keeping teams honest with Chris Paul is he's shooting 39% from 3 this year.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
But he is now for the season, which is 3 points higher than his career average. At home this year, from 3, he's shooting 40.4% from deep. If he keeps that up, they can't leave him open in the playoffs because he'll make them pay. I think that's a huge thing where he's become more comfortable at spotting up, and being the off ball to take that kind of shot. And if he can stay consistent from there, they're not going to be able to just make him beat them with the jumper.
So we have a super chat that we got a while ago, and I forgot about it. So sorry about that. But it's from Ghost Balls. Thank you, Ghost Balls. And they said only 6 more wins in a row till Saul hugs Espo. But here's the thing. I know we talked about this off the top, but we put a poll in the chat. And we said, think we can get Saul and Espo to hug at the end of the show? Shh, this is a secret from Emma. And 58% said yes. 41% said no. I'm just saying it's something to think
Where'd the
about,
other
you
1%
two.
go?
Apparently YouTube only likes to go up to 99%. I don't know.
Hey.
Well, that's cool.
Don't ask me. I'm just saying it's something to think about, considering your friends, your supporters, they want you to do it.
You get to 120 likes before the end of this program, and the 3 of us will hug. How about that?
Oh,
God, I
okay.
don't want that at all.
Well, I don't care if the people get to 120 likes.
It's my body,
happening.
my choice. I'm not fucking hugging anybody.
Espo said, well, if I have to hug Saul, then I'm going to drag Lindsay down with me, I suppose.
Don't make me like this. Never mind. I get Supreme Court this. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Anyway,
Why is
I
everybody
just
so
thought you
obsessed
guys
with
should
this?
know that. So there you go. Just more love, more kindness.
Where
Saul.
is the love?
I just gave love to
nice.
Chris Paul. That's enough for me.
The love, the love, the love.
10 games.
love,
10 games in a row. That's not hard.
more fun, more Suns win, more furniture. If you are in the market for some new furniture for your house, your apartment, your office, wherever it may be, More Furniture is the place to go to save big on the best furniture in the Valley. They have fantastic options, and they also have white glove delivery, which we got here for our office furniture at PHNX. And that is the best part about More Furniture, because you don't have to lift a finger. They will package everything up, deliver it smoothly, unpack it for you, perfect condition, all the things. All you have to do is check out and then wait for it to show up at your house. It's literally the easiest way to get new furniture, and you can find them at morefurniture.com. We might be living in a fantasy world if we honestly expect Espo and Saul to hug, but at least we can potentially make some money on Underdog Fantasy.
Euphoria 35 is living in a fantasy world because he thinks Alex Len is really better than DA.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said.
Euphoria 35 in the chat
Oh,
is living in a fantasy world because he or she says next someone throw out Alex Len is better than DA.
well, because I don't think Euphoria 35 thinks that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're
it's
right.
the
My bad.
chat that's
Yeah,
having all this conversation
Yeah.
around who's better than DA and who's
Yeah.
not.
That's what they did the other night, too.
Yeah.
I got you.
But Underdog Fantasy is really fun. You don't have to worry about deciding who's better between Alex Len and DeAndre Ayton on there. And they do daily fantasy sports different. It's the best part is like there's daily fantasy sports, there's season-long fantasy, all the things that you could ask for from fantasy sports with the potential to win good money over at Underdog Fantasy. We also have a fantasy show here at PHNX that give you guys all the lowdown on the latest fantasy happenings, and it's a lot of fun, so make sure you guys check that one out. But right now, it is really easy to get started. Just go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app, but make sure you sign up with the promo code PHNX, because when you use that promo code, Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. So there was a question in the chat. Go ahead.
The Gerthlings somehow gave us a famous couple name.
Yes, I saw it.
Saul Spo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable with that. Why do I have to go last, first of all?
Say what?
The Saul Spo.
Oh, Saul Spo. Sorry. I'm having a hard time listening to you guys today.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. I'm sure the listeners are too, but I don't know how I feel about that. A celebrity couple name for Saul and I.
What is it supposed to be? S-all?
That sounds better.
Saul Spo or S-all?
It sounds
Saul
like we're
Spo.
saying asshole. It's
Saul. Hold
Oh, my
on.
God. Enough with the polls, Emma. Oh, my gosh.
Saul Spo or S-all? It's definitely Saul Spo. I'm sorry, Espo.
I really want off this ride.
Why?
Jeez. It's so weird.
It is what it is. We have a couple of questions from
I love answering questions.
from
Let's
the
do
chat.
this. Let's do it.
So first one, we'll start with Magic here. A super chat. Thank you so much for your super chat. Said, DA will be the best two-way center in the league. We will miss him if we trade him. I am the DA stan and proud. I will preach keep DA all day.
So there's a couple things going on here, and I'll go ahead and say some of the things that I've kind of come across with DA. DA is efficient, but the Suns statistically are not dramatically better or worse with or without him. That's basically what I've come across, and that's basically what I've come down to. There's a lot of things that the good thing is that there's a lot of things within his own control that he can improve on, like effort, being focused in games, things of that nature, developing ball handling skills, footwork. That all needs improved. But will he do it? I don't know. And until that does happen, he will be forever at the mercy of everybody else that is trying to feed this to him, to try to get him motivated. It is year 6 of me covering DeAndre Ayton, and I still don't know what makes him tick. The things that I've seen and I've noticed that stat-wise or just from an energy level-wise is when they're in games that are magnified, a lot of energy in the building, he gets energy in the building. It was like that U of A. It was like that during the playoffs, both runs. Those are the things that I kind of noticed. But for regular season games that don't mean much, that's why you see the up and down, because he's just not as focused. His effort level is not there as much, and it affects things. Now, he has played better in the last 15 to 20 games. He's had several 30-point games, double-digit rebounds at a high clip. But for every one of those, I mean, shit, he's literally had 41 games over the course of his career where he's scored in single digits. That's half a season. That's too much. That's too much.
You say he gets up for the big game, and I believe that to be true in most cases. But you covered him in college, Buffalo. It's a tournament game.
Yeah. Again, being there in Buffalo or being there in Boise, fucking Idaho, there was very little energy in the crowd. Everybody thought it was a surefire thing that Arizona was going to win. Stadium was about half empty, and there was not a lot of energy. And then Buffalo went on a run, and then everybody turned and went. Of course, you always go with the underdog in a game like that. And yeah, it was easy to see. Pac-12 tournament just a week before, it's like U of A North over there, and it was loud. It was crazy. Riley Hawkins had got a dunk on somebody's head and stepped over him, and the crowd was going crazy. He was pumped up from the jump. Like, it was just a different vibe. And you saw that in the playoffs too. Like, he's just a different energetic guy in the playoffs. But you need DA during this regular season, and you can't always try to hype him up. And listen, guys that constantly need to be prodded to play at a high level, those aren't necessarily guys you want on your team all the time.
Can you hire a coach in that second row that literally is just
the Suns got hired me today, and I go over there and I'll just
type
whisper
man.
a whole bunch of negative shit in his ear and see what happens.
I mean, I don't know that it's always a reaction to negative. I think it'll also be a reaction to positive.
But I think he's gotten both.
Yeah.
I think he's got both. Listen, if you tried one thing a million times and it's not working, you're going to try something else. It's just, I really don't know what gets the guy ticking. I really don't.
I wasn't around Sean Miller, so I don't know much about him, but he seems like a guy that is very fiery. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
With Sean Miller. And it seemed like he got the most out of DA in most situations at U of A. Is Monty's temperament not just the kind of thing that motivates DA? Like, is this quiet, pensive, folksy, I'm going to give you a quote, but I'm not going to, I know it got overblown, but not talking to DA for a summer, to me, feels more like that does the opposite of, like, he seems like a guy that needs can't wait to see this season. We're going to get at it. Here's what I'm thinking, or you need to get your ass in the gym, and be on him. And maybe that's part of this. Maybe Monty isn't the right guy to unlock what DA needs.
That very well could be true, and that's a great point. Monty might not be the one to be able to solve the riddle that is DA, but there's not many coaches that are Sean Miller-esque in the NBA. Thibodeau's one of those guys that'll
He's always
he will
yelling.
get on your ass in a second. But there's just not a lot of those kind of guys. Now, maybe if maybe a nice balance of the two, like Steve Kerr, Popovich, you know what I mean? Like maybe they can figure it out. Maybe Nick Nurse could figure it out in Toronto, because that's a rumor. So I don't know. But at the end of the day, as a player, you got to own it yourself. You got to want it yourself. DA could have easily been an NBA All-Star this year, but he's not going to be. And it's all completely of his own doing.
Big Sexy in the chat said DA will end up being like Kuzma and Markkanen, for example, with a change of scenery. And I think that is my biggest
fear.
Yeah. Because listen, there's two sides of the coins, because if DA gets traded and that happens, there's a part of me that's like, go off, DA. Like I'm going to be very happy for DeAndre having found that success. And then there will be a part of me that's like, fudge, like why couldn't you just do that here, man? Like that sucks.
The hardest thing for a number one overall pick, and again, sitting right over here and listening to Bill Armstrong, the Coyotes GM, and him talking about the pressures of being a number one pick, that's not for everybody. And DA might not be able to handle the pressure of the number one pick that we've all set. We all individually had a certain expectation of what that slotted draft position was going to bring to our team. And all of us are all over the place about whether or not, I don't think any of us feel like he's met that expectation, but there's a lot of people that feel like he still can. And then there's a lot of people that feel like he won't ever come to it. And I am in the camp that I really want DA to figure it out here. I want him to stay here. I want him to be a Phoenix Sun, because this is where he grew up. This is where like basketball really came to fruition for him here. But I also acknowledge that sometimes a change of scenery is just better for some players, and to be able to move on and succeed. It happened with Jermaine O'Neal when he went from the Trailblazers, where he was barely averaging 5 points a game and he was fresh out of high school and he was immature. He went to the Pacers and boom, unlocked, started averaging 15, 20 points a game, and he flourished with the Pacers. You know what I mean? LaMarcus Aldridge, same thing, kind of a slow start to his career. Boom. Then he kind of took off because he got into a good rhythm in year 5 or 6. So it's not that we haven't seen it before, but when we came in with the expectation that he was going to be a David Robinson or he was going to be a Hakeem Olajuwon, that set him up for failure off the bat, because those dudes were averaging 25 and 12 from day one, averaging 4 blocks a game from day one, averaging 2 steals as a center from day one. And it's just a completely different scenario.
But that's what we should have expected from him. It was a number one pick. You banked your franchise in many ways on it. So
if the rest of the draft class was trash, I wonder how we would feel about DA right now.
Yeah, that's a fair
like
question.
if Luka and Trey,
it really does. Like it messes with the way that you perceive other guys in the league.
Because we could be sitting here, if Luka doesn't exist or Trey Young doesn't exist, right? We could be sitting here and be like, well, we got the best player in the draft that year.
So we
would be content with it, right?
Yeah. What you guys bring up, if DA goes and plays better at the second place, as long as the return you get for him makes you better, I'm fine with it and I'm happy for DA. If they had let him walk to Indiana and this summer and he went and balled out in Indiana, I would have lost my ever-loving mind.
But again, it all depends on what he does, right? If we lose DA and he goes and averages 30 and 15, and the guy we got in is averaging, 20 and 10, but for a couple seasons, that guy's going to feel the pressure of the fan base because we let the number one pick go, and look at him flourishing over there. We should have kept him. And it'll be the same thing all over again.
Win a title and none of it matters.
Yeah, win a title.
It's that simple.
And majority of it goes out the window because that's what matters the most.
I feel something.
That's what matters the most.
Ooh.
Oh, you know what I feel.
Ooh.
In the darkness, beyond the light, there shall only be one. Welcome to
Hi, Gerald.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Who the hell are those kids?
You ask this every time there's kids back there.
This is the thing that they do where they have fans on the court after the game and it's very loud. So we're going to try and push through this.
Okay.
First things first, how's Cam Johnson's face?
To be honest, it looks a little bit swollen right now. He said he was fine. He did say, yeah, I did take a shot to the face. He was glad he had his mouth guard in, but fortunately it doesn't seem like it's going to be anything that's going to hold him out. But yeah, his face looked a little bit swollen after the game.
You don't think this is going to hold him out?
No, I don't think so.
Did anybody call him Puff?
No one called him.
Or Cheeks? Anybody call him Cheeks?
I don't.
Gerald's like,
No.
you guys are weird. Why are you asking me these questions?
It's been a very weird show. Let me tell you that
But we're
right now.
glad to hear that Cam Johnson seemingly will be okay, because that did make us all very nervous, a little bit concerned, because obviously he did come back and play, but he didn't play a whole lot in the second half of this game. But neither did quite a few of the starters for the Suns. But Cam had a great night. That dunk kind of scared us a little bit too, but the three-point shooting was fantastic. What did Monty and the guys have to say about Cam's performance tonight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Monty was kind of preaching caution, like, okay, he's not going to be able to come out there every other game and continue to do this. It's going to take him a while to build up his endurance. That's why he didn't play as much. And also the fact that the Suns were able to open it up in the fourth quarter and kind of put the game away. So they were able to keep his minutes down tonight, but they loved seeing the aggression from him. There was a sequence where he created 2 assists back-to-back when the Hornets had cut it to, I think, 8, and they were able to kind of open it back up to a double-digit lead. That's exactly the kind of thing we've been talking about with Mikal, but we haven't been able to see it as much with Cam because he's just been out for so long. So they were really happy to see that. They loved seeing his two-handed dunk, but Chris Paul was saying, scared the life out of me, and he told Cam in the locker room, like, you got to land better. You got to hold on to the rim longer. And Cam was saying, I was coming in too hot. I couldn't do anything about it. But, yeah, he tried to stick the landing. He said he was unsuccessful in that, but hopefully next time he learned his lesson for that one.
I agree with Chris Paul.
Why does Monty always want to freeze out a player? I know he's on a time restriction, but Cam was shooting lights out in the first quarter. Like, why? Why pull him out? Because as soon as he pulled him out, he went on ice.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they won the game by like 30 points, and Cam was able to keep his minutes down. So that's the most important thing. Like, we can nitpick here and there, but he's on a minutes restriction. So as much as it sucks to see him light it up and then get taken out, it's for a reason. And for once, Monty is actually using caution when it comes to these guys. We saw the other night, Chris Paul came back and played 38 minutes. So with a guy that missed 37 games with a serious knee injury, I'd much rather see that.
Boo,
But it's a tendency. It's a tendency.
30 Cam Johnson points in the first
it's a
quarter.
tendency. Oh, DA's on a heater. Take him out. Boop. Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze.
I'm just talking about tonight specifically, but I get what you're saying.
Gerald, Dario played well yet again tonight. Did Monty share any thoughts? Did you get a chance to talk to Dario? And if not, what were your thoughts on Dario?
Yeah, I mean, the guys were all super complimentary. Monty called him a warrior, and all of the guys were saying, knowing that what he's been through just to get back to this point. Chris Paul said he's happier for Dario playing this way than probably anybody on the roster, just because of the battle to get back to this stage. And they've all said he looks like the Dario Saric pre-injury, the Dario of old, the one that we're used to seeing. And I kind of tend to agree. He's been stringing together a couple of really good performances over the last couple of weeks. He's been letting it fly from 3. He's been setting guys up with some pretty snazzy passes, and he even went for it all tonight with the poster dunk. The other night, Jock was joking. They share their lockers are right next to each other. He was joking his coast-to-coast layup. He should have tried to dunk it, and he tried to dunk it tonight. And Jock Landale was laughing. He was saying, "I know. Look what happened when he tried to dunk it." So they all had it. They got a kick out of that. Monty joked that the rim must have moved on him when he went up for that. Dario said he's going to stick to his jump stops and pump fakes from now on, but it's cool to see how much joy there is around the team right now, not just because they're winning again, but because they're getting contributions from a lot of guys that have been on the sidelines for a while.
I'm concerned because even I'm now thinking maybe they should keep Dario. I like what I'm seeing from this guy. I have been giving Dario flowers, which means he obviously has made an impact.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. If this is the Dario that they get, maybe he's more valuable than whatever they're going to trade for. But again, we don't know how the trade market is unfolding. And if the Suns can bring in an upgrade of some sort, they should do that. You know, the center spot is pretty log jammed. But if he's able to play the 4 spot the way he has next to Jock Landale recently, maybe that changes the math a little bit. I don't know. It depends on who's available, though.
Gerald, I have 2 questions. First, actually, we just got word that we have a live image of Monty talking to Cam Johnson right after he pulled him out. There it is.
Oh, God.
Okay, cool. Mr.
That's Monty.
He's trying to protect him.
Monty as
Monty
Mr. Freeze. Monty Freeze. Let's go.
Oh, my God.
But more importantly, Jock Landale. I thought he played very, very well. It seems like he's starting to get a little bit more confidence back into his game. And more importantly, he's hitting the 3, which is what we all hoped he would do from the start. What was your impressions on this game tonight?
Yeah, we talked to him in the locker room a little bit, and he was saying, you know, obviously it's nice for them to be winning games, but it's even nicer for him to be coming off the bench and playing a part in that because of how bad it was with the losing streak and everything and getting inconsistent minutes. This feels more consistent now. He was, you know, he seemed relieved. I asked him about kind of busting the lid off the rim, and he was very relieved that shots are starting to fall. I think tonight was the first night of his career where he made 3 3-pointers in the same game. And that was obviously a season high as well. So good to see him knocking down shots. Good to see him building chemistry with Dario Saric and some of the other second unit guys that he's been playing with. They've just been getting solid contributions from across the board over the stretch. And you look at the opponents, they're not great. You know, the Pacers without Halliburton, the Nets without KD, the Hornets who are just admittedly terrible. But if they can string together some momentum, they just jump from 12th to basically 5th or 6th in the West, depending on what happens with this Clippers game tonight. It's super jumbled, and if they get healthy, they can put a real run together.
So one thing that we didn't really highlight yet so far in the show is Bismack Biyombo's block shots tonight. He had 5 of them, which it seems like we're just
in the first half.
In the first half. Honestly, I feel like we're kind of just getting spoiled by Bismack blocks because at this point they're just so calm, and it's like, yeah, well, it's a bigger news day if Biyombo doesn't have a block more than anything, but he had 5 of them tonight, which is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually something I'll be writing about for this week because he talked to us at Shoot-Around today and gave me like a 3-minute response on how he approaches blocking shots that was just incredibly insightful. So I'm really excited for people to read that. But he's just, everybody talks about how much work he puts in as far as film study, as far as the energy that he brings off the bench. And how nice it is to have a guy that you can funnel offensive players in towards the rim and let Bismack take care of it, you know, with the chase down blocks or the weak side rotations. He really knows his craft as far as being a shot blocker. There's a reason he was, I think, the 102nd guy to record 1,000 blocks for his career. So the Suns are very cognizant of what he brings to the table on that front. And it's really cool to see him just rack up some of those highlights like that.
Didn't he have a nickname for Mikal Bridges this morning that we'd never heard before? What was that?
Yeah, so he was asked who the funniest son is on the team, and he was saying, I'd probably have to say small boy, Mikal Bridges. And we were like, small boy, where does that come from? And he's like, he's a small boy. So I have no idea where it comes from. I think they just give each other nicknames for the hell of it sometimes. Like Mikal calls Saban Lee Saban. They just come up with the goofiest nicknames for each other. And apparently Biz is just making fun of Mikal for being, I don't know, shorter than him or skinnier than him. I have no idea.
Hold on.
I loved that. That made me laugh so hard today. Like, Biz calling Mikal small boy is the funniest thing.
Hold on. Mikal just mispronounces Saban's name, and it's like, it's a nickname. No, you got his name wrong. That's what you did. Like,
I think that's the joke because everyone keeps calling him Sabian or like different versions of his actual name. I think I passed their, like, because in the locker room they have little post-game smoothies or whatever that have their names on it. I don't know if it was a typo or if somebody was messing around, but I'm pretty sure it said Sabon on his smoothie the other night.
Oh, no.
Sabon.
oh, Mikal's
like,
running the smoothie station.
His sister's name is Cinna.
It's like his,
Get it? Cinnabon.
I got you.
Okay.
Cinnabon Lee.
like a little bit of an initiation, like gentle hazing, whatever the word for that would be. Kinder, I guess
Yeah, I
you
would
could say.
so.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. Well, anything else that stuck out to you from Monty or the guys tonight, Gerald?
Nope, just another win, and now we got Dallas on Thursday, and that'll be kind of a real test for this team after some of the opponents they face. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to ride this momentum into that game.
Do you expect DA to possibly be back for that game?
I would be surprised if he's not. He was at the practice facility this morning on the treadmill, kind of not running, but walking, jogging a little bit. He was upgraded to doubtful before the game, before being downgraded back to out again. So I think with an extra day in between, he should be back Thursday, but we'll see what they have to say in practice tomorrow.
Gerald, is there any chance that Devin Booker makes a surprise return?
I would say those chances are slim to none. Tomorrow is the 4-week reevaluation period to the day, and we were told we would get an update on him either tomorrow or sometime this week. But, you know, they kicked us out of shoot-around early today because he was trying to get some one-on-one in, but that's the most he's done, even close to contact. So I'd be shocked if he's cleared for Thursday's game.
Dallas, Luka, TNT.
Rivals week.
It sounds like the kind of thing that Booker goes, to hell with it. I'm going to try to come back.
Yeah, but
no.
did he not learn his lesson from Christmas Day, Espo?
We're not going to sit here and say that he's coming back when we just
I didn't say he
we're giving
was.
Cam Johnson 15 minutes a game because he's on a minutes restriction, even though he was on an all-time heater in the first quarter. No, Booker, sit your ass down till you're absolutely healthy. Then you can come back.
What if
I
he's
think
been
he
healthy
should have
for
learned
him?
his lesson from the Christmas Day game when he came back too soon. So hopefully
You'd like to think
100%.
so. You'd like to think so.
Lord have mercy. If not, we got issues and we need to have a conversation with Devin Armani Booker. Gerald, thank you so much. We appreciate all of your insight tonight.
Absolutely. You guys have a good night.
Bye, Gerald. All right. So last couple things for you guys. The Suns are going to be playing a lot more at home over this last stretch of games for the regular season, which is great for all of you guys if you want to go see a game. And it's even better if you buy your tickets on the Game Time app, because on the Game Time app, you can save up to 60% on those tickets when you buy them last minute. And the best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description. Whether you are watching on YouTube, listening on whatever podcast platform you listen to your podcast on, the link will always be in the description of these shows, so it's easy for you to access and find at any point in time. Game Time works great for sporting events and concerts as well. So if you're looking to hit up either of those kind of shows or games, definitely check out the Game Time app before you buy your tickets anywhere else, because we want you to be able to save as much money as you can while also having a great time.
I'm going to get those Taylor Swift tickets.
You
Gonna
better.
happen.
You better. And Saul, I know you love your friends over at Bad Birdie. It was actually really cool to see a lot of the Bad Birdie merch out at our tea party. Like, you guys have seen it around you've worn it around the office, and it looks great.
Yeah,
casually.
Max always wears it on the days he does ad reads because he never gives me a heads up. He says, "Hey, by the way, you got to talk about Bad Birdie today." And I love talking about Bad Birdie because there's such a great merch site. Like, they have great merch. They have brand new hoodies. They got a lot of stuff on clearance, by the way, that you can go check it out. A bunch of colors. Plus, if you're going to go out to the Waste Management Open, you can't go out there looking like an asshole. Like,
I don't know.
Go to Bad Birdie. Go to Bad Birdie. Get yourself hooked up, and you can save yourself 15% by getting some sweet ass merch. And when you walk around that joint, people are just going to look at you and be like, "Damn, where'd you get that shirt? Where'd you get that quarter zip? Where'd you get that hat?" You just tell them, go to Bad Birdie. So go to badbirdie.com, badbirdiegolf.com, and use code PHNX_sports15 for 15% off on your next order. It's just that simple.
That simple. All right. My final question for the group, which includes the chat and the two of you.
Uh-oh.
We saw that at the Suns game tonight, there was a proposal.
Oh,
And I think it ended happily.
it did.
This one specifically happened in a suite, though.
Mhm.
So my question is, are you on team proposing at sporting events? Is it different if it's in a suite versus like center court at a timeout or something of that sort?
I think the younger you are, the more you're okay with it. But the older you get, the less you want it. That's kind of how I feel.
Okay.
Like, because I think when I was like 20, 25, if I was to do it, I think I've always thought about doing something like that. Like, oh, that'd be awesome. But now at like 43, I'm like, man, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going in front of all these people that I don't even know to try and propose. Like, and more importantly, my wife would have hated that. She literally said the one thing she did not want me to do
you dare.
was propose to her at a U of A game. She was like, that's not happening. I was like, okay.
I think it is total crap to ask somebody to marry you at a sporting event. It is not fair. It is uncomfortable. It puts that person in a position to feel pressure to say yes because you're in front of all those people. It's just not fair to do. I think it is a shitty, shitty thing to do to another human being.
But congratulations to the couple that did it today.
So I'm okay in a suite because typically if you're in a suite, it's you and the people you know around you a lot of times. Sometimes you don't know the people around you, but I would assume if you're planning a proposal, it would be you and your friends or your family members, right? I don't mind the suite thing because it's still at an event, and especially if you bond over Suns basketball, something like that, but it's not as much pressure because you're not going to get caught on the camera to be put up on the big screen. You're not going to necessarily get caught on the broadcast cameras to where if something weird happens or somebody thinks you made a funny face or that she said no or whatever, you wind up going viral. Like that happens so often, and I hate that for so many different reasons. So if it's in the suite or even maybe in the stands a little bit, I'll give it, but on the court, absolutely not.
I think there's one good rule, okay? And I think, listen, if you're fortunate enough to be in that situation, because that means somebody loves you, right? Like whether you're the one being proposed to or you're proposing to somebody else. What I will say is this: if you know you're going to be on the big screen, right? Just listen. It doesn't take much just to say yes. And then once you leave, be like, bro, no, this ain't happening. Like, or woman, whatever. Like, I just like, that's a lot of humiliation. Now they set themselves up for failure. I will admit that, but just
no. If you're gonna say no, say it in front of everybody.
Why?
Because why lie? I think that's worse because then the person who asked thinks, oh, I've got my soulmate for the rest of my life, and then when you get alone, you're like, I'm not going to marry you.
Low key though, Espo, if you ask somebody to marry you without having had the conversation and knowing for sure that you guys are on the same page, there are bigger issues at hand than making you feel bad.
Have you not
afterwards?
Have you not met somebody that is that unself-aware that they do that?
That you would date for quite a while?
If you're going to ask in front of that kind of group of people, you're probably one of those people who may not have had that discussion.
What?
Look, if you bonded over Suns basketball or any sporting event and you want to ask that person to marry you, call the team. Ask if you can get in the arena when not everybody's there.
See, that would actually be
nice,
even better.
setting.
Like if you got me access, like if we bonded over the Suns and you got me access to the arena where I'm allowed to like just explore almost to an extent, I feel like that's a little more meaningful. And then you get to have like a nice moment together and it's not
Thank
all
you,
awkward.
Tracy. This is why I love you.
Me.
No, she said absolutely not. I'm not going. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
I'm not going to lie
wrong.
in public to save face and then break a heart in private.
Why not?
My only thinking is even as the person being proposed to in that situation, I wouldn't want to go. You're going to go viral if you do that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go viral.
You don't want to go viral for the. If somebody proposed to you and you said no,
you're going viral.
You're going viral, and he's going viral for the wrong reasons. Just save face for both people.
Yeah.
Get out and be like, bro, I don't want to
want
marry
to go
you.
viral for saying no.
If you ask in public, you have to be asking knowing that there is a chance that you are going to go viral for her or him saying no. That's part of the price of admission to do this in front of all these people. Lying and then breaking somebody's heart is worse in private than doing it in public.
Tracy
like
said,
Integrity.
because integrity.
Jeez,
I
come
love
on.
it.
Come on, have a heart.
you're going to hurt that person much more by saying
You
yes
really think
and then
No.
saying no. Yes.
No.
Because that person is going to think that you have said yes to marry
Okay,
Bro,
okay,
you
them.
will
okay,
have to
I got
relive
it.
it in
Listen.
perpetuity on social media. Hey, remember this clip? And then you're
Or-
always going to have to see
Or
it.
everybody's gonna go, hey, how'd the marriage go? How'd the wedding go? We saw you get proposed, and then you're gonna have to say,
No,
oh,
because
she
when
said
she
yes.
when they just say yes, it doesn't go viral all the time. It only goes
Thank you.
viral if
If
there's
you-
something with
If you
it.
are willing to ask in public, you are willing to go viral. You are actually wanting it to. If you're asking in public, you're asking for
Okay,
attention.
I have a 50-50 split where I feel like we could all meet in the middle. What if the person who's being proposed to gets really excited, goes in for a hug and says, no fucking chance am I marrying you,
Okay.
but we're saving face right now, so
I-
pretend that I said yes and we're getting
I'm
off this
fine
court.
with that because
I don't know if
then-
anybody just heard anything I said because I covered the mic.
Look,
My bad.
I agree with that. Then you're not lying in that you're being honest, but you're trying to save some emotional damage for the person.
Hey,
in
can I
public.
drop a little tasty nugget
Sure,
from
please
my
do.
friends over at Google? The average engagement is 12 to 18 months long, and about 20% of weddings are called off after engagements. That's my little tasty nugget. You can,
See?
if hypothetically, I'm not picking sides
She's
here.
advocating to say yes, wait 12 months, then say
Well,
no.
you know, not even the 12 months, dog. You can wait like a month or some shit, and you can be like, wait, nah, this isn't for me. Or
Oh, that's
something.
diabolical.
serious.
I mean,
I'm
like,
gonna say yes.
for
I'm
real.
gonna wear this ring
Like,
for a month.
Okay, but at the same time, like the amount of pressure that you're putting on that person, like it's kind of hard to do that. Okay, I'm done. Good night.
I mean,
Oh, wait,
listen, like you're just heartless if you're just going to destroy somebody because they felt like they were open enough to try and ask you to marriage, and you're going to get embarrassed. You're going to get embarrassed. They're going to get embarrassed. It's always going to live on social media. You'll be viral for about a week. But if you say yes and then you go home, you're like, I don't want to marry you. I just said that because I'm not ready to get married.
I would rather
Cool.
you be embarrassed than me be embarrassed
Yeah.
if that's the case.
That's just evil.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one for
How
sure.
about this? Don't ask in public, and then you don't have to put the other person in the very awkward
that's-
No,
position.
how about
where they
this?
have
If you're going to
decide.
ask in public, have a conversation with your significant
Yeah.
other that you both are in agreement that you would like to be married to one another.
That's true. That's
Like,
true.
Have the conversation.
I agree.
For the
Rodriguez,
love of God.
I you know what? I have a heart. That's why Saul is trying to protect the person from public embarrassment, and he is kind of right. I agree.
If the person doesn't know you're going to say yes, they've accepted that public embarrassment is part of
I
the
don't-
equation.
I agree. I genuinely think that if you have not had that conversation with your significant other, where like you guys aren't on
You
the
have no
same page,
business getting
exactly,
married.
you have no like. You should not be proposing.
Yeah, but okay, wait, time out. All right. So I was with my wife for, don't judge me, like 8 years before we got married. Okay, 5 years before I proposed. And I knew she was going to say yes. Like I wasn't going to ask if I didn't think she was going to say yes. But had I done it at a basketball game, like she didn't want, like
Well, but you'd had the conversation, so you were aware she didn't want it at a basketball game. You knew that she'd say
so
yes.
even in that moment, if she didn't want it at the basketball game, you think she should have said no right there on the spot, even though she does want to marry
No.
me.
If you had that conversation and you did it at a U of A basketball game, she should have slapped you in the face right there for being dumb
You're
enough
just
to
trying to
ask
be
her
funny right now.
where she said you shouldn't ask her.
Anyway,
Would you like that hug now?
should we wrap up with the Saul Espo hug? Oh my goodness.
I don't give
All
a shit if
right.
we win 100 games in a row. I'm not hugging this man.
You already said
Well,
10.
now
You got
you'll
no takes
embarrass
back.
me in public,
Yeah,
huh?
sure am.
You'll embarrass
As soon
me
as you come in for the
public?
hug, I'm just gonna be like, nope,
You can't just hug me and then tell me after you didn't want to.
nope.
Code said, what's the difference between that and asking in front of her family or yours? About 18,000 people
And a
and
lot
the
of
entire
camera.
internet. That'd probably be the biggest difference, I would say. Maybe a little more control over who shares the videos and the pictures
And
from that.
So here's another question that I came across then, since we're here on this topic, and yeah, this is gonna be done, but here we go, real quick. If you propose and she says no or he says no, do they get to keep the ring?
No.
I got into this debate on Twitter yesterday because somebody was like, no, it's a gift. I get to keep it, and it's my decision whether I give it back to you or not. Bro, I know. That's exactly what I said.
Wait. Hold on. At the proposal or after if the engagement is called off?
Like, I get down on one knee, I give you a ring, and then she keeps it. And then if she decides she doesn't want to get married or they don't want to get married, like, okay, engagement's over, we're breaking up. Do they get to keep the ring?
If it's if the person who is being proposed to in the moment, if it's in the moment says no, absolutely
What
not.
if they say yes, but then they decide to break it off?
It depends. I think the etiquette is it depends on how it's broken off. If
he cheats on her,
Yeah,
yes, she gets to keep
Let's
it.
just say it's an amicable breakup.
No,
okay?
that she doesn't get to keep it.
I would give it back, I think.
Yeah.
You should.
If it was amicable, I would give it back.
Yeah.
Now, if they cheated, hell no.
No. We're saying everything's squared up. Everything's on the
They
good.
just
good.
both
It just
decided we weren't meant to be together.
yeah.
Here's the ring back.
Yeah. Like
I would
you
give
should
it back.
Right?
I would
It's
give
not
it back.
is an engagement ring a gift?
It's more like a loan, right?
Jesus Christ!
It's like, here's $15,000. If this doesn't work out, please give it back. No?
Eric Rodriguez, fuck back. Give me the ring back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's a loan.
it's not technically a gift. Like when you give it, there's something that's supposed to be returned, which is marriage, right? But if the marriage doesn't happen, shouldn't you keep the ring?
Wait, you think that
You should get the ring back.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah.
You should get
Yeah.
the ring back.
Again,
And then you should be one
it
of those
all
awkward.
just depends on how the separation happens.
You should get the ring back, and then you should be one of those awkward people on Facebook Marketplace that are like,
Tracy, it's a loan. Oh, I knew you were going to get in trouble for that one.
in the engagement period. Once you're married, it's all yours.
Yeah,
all
Tracy,
right?
give the fucking ring back and get a new one. Get a permanent one since this one's a fucking loan.
No, until the marriage. then it's yours. It's a loan until that point.
Oh,
Look, you should get it back and
Okay.
be one of those creepy
Land
people.
the
on
plane, people.
Listen, all I'm going to say, Code said, see where winning gets us? Listen, here are the rules of the PHNX Suns podcast that I just decided to make legitimate. If it's over an hour,
There
all
are no
bets
rules.
are off the table. If you stick with us further than 60 minutes, just know shit's getting weird more likely than not.
Eli
Okay?
said winning got us thinking about rings. LOL.
My wife says, I'll send it to your new house.
Okay.
Who
so,
said I'm moving out?
so Espo's getting a divorce.
No, we're not putting that bad juju out into the world. Before we say goodbye, we do have a super chat from Vertigo. Thank you so much for your super chat. Said I was at the Fresno State and Boise State basketball game tonight. Garbage basketball at its best. Haha.
Yes.
Fantastic.
At
Thank
Taco
you
Bell
for your
Arena.
super chat. We appreciate you.
Dumb.
We appreciate all of you for hanging with us tonight, having some good fun and laughs with us here. We will have a show for you guys tomorrow. Like I said, it's happening out at the Four Peaks Pub in Tempe. If you want to come hang out with us in person.
Come by. I'll buy you a beer. I promise you. Come by. I'll buy you a beer. We'll sit there and shit talk about a bunch of stuff and be stupid. Let's go.
You want to trade in your loan ring? We got special prices on that
Go.
too.
Let's go.
Come
If
on
you can't come hang out with us in person, you can always find us on YouTube.
We gotta say
We'll
it.
be live at 3 p.m. And to round it all out, here's Code's comment.
Code in the chat says, Espo, blink twice if you need a place to stay tonight.
As well, you better not blink. All right. Until we see you tomorrow, you can follow me on Twitter at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Remember, don't call a wedding ring alone when your wife's in the chat. Ahoy, hoy.
Phoenix Metro, Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsay, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like Dan.